I
I, Marcus Jones,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and that I will be faithful
and that I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance
and bear true allegiance
to the state of Maryland
to the state of Maryland
and support the Constitution
and support the Constitution
and laws thereof,
and laws thereof,
and that I will,
and that I will,
to the best of my skill and judgment,
to the best of my skill and judgment,
diligently and faithfully,
diligently and faithfully,
without partiality or prejudice,
without partiality or prejudice,
execute the office
execute the office
of Chief of the Montgomery County Police Department
of Chief of the Montgomery County Police Department
according to the Constitution
according to the Constitution
and laws of this state.
and the laws of this state.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Wow. First of all, I had I was thinking all this week of putting this these few remarks together, and I said, well, should I write them down and really kind of just, I know people are coming, and Angela and my assistant Sabrina have been putting together the list, and I saw these names coming, and I'm like, well, I can't thank everybody, because there's a lot of people in this room that I tell you, being in this county for 34 years, and who have been and still are a part of my life and a part of this career. And so it just was no way that I was going to be able to put that down and grab everybody, and I knew I was going to miss somebody, so I said I can't do that. So I said the most important thing for me today is that I had to come from the heart. And that's where I am here today. And I'll start here. And there's always has to be a beginning. And at the very beginning, I would just say this to County Executive Elrich. Thank you for having the confidence to put my name forward to the County Council. And to the County Council, I want to thank you all for your undying support. And we had a great conversation. We have for over the past few months, but even greater this week during a confirmation hearing to talk about what we were going to do to move this police department forward. And I will tell you, I have never been so proud, and I'm humbled and honored to lead the men and women of the Montgomery County Police Department, because as Mr. Katz did say, and I totally agree, and I told him that earlier this week, I'm glad he does listen, that that we do have the greatest police department in this country and across the world. And there's a lot of reasons behind that, and I want to say thank you for that, for this opportunity. There's lots of people to thank. And I'm going to kind of go way out of order, but I just want, first of all, to thank a true mentor, somebody who also really had the confidence in me and had given the word that I was ready to lead this department. I have watched him over the past 15 years. I remember I was his first lieutenant that he actually ever promoted when he came here from Fairfax. And Chief Manger, a great friend, he is somebody that I tell you I can have a conversation with. And he's one of these individuals that what I did learn from him was that he never turned down any conversation with anyone in this community, whether it was controversial or not. He is one of the greatest collaborators that I noticed in my policing career, and I want to say thank you, and thank you what you've done for this police department, because you brought it from a mighty long way, so I want to thank you for that. So there are some tremendous partners. John McCarthy, my good friend, we go back, way back, and John and I even on the basketball courts back in the old academy. And John had a really good jumper, but I used to like to beat him up, so he was, so he would always at least think about me when he would shoot the ball, if nothing else. But he's been phenomenal. We did some phenomenal cases when I was an investigator back in the day, and when I worked in major crimes, and a lot of things that we've done, and that relationship will build. And again, this is for the betterment of Montgomery County, to make it a better place. And I will tell you, you can't have a better partner who has sensitivity, who has a great gratitude for the folks that live in this county, and to help people who are in need. And that's a lot about what it's all about, is about helping people. Just because we have this authority to arrest and to address situations, many times we just find that there's this issue where there are people in need. And therefore, we have to help those folks and provide them with the best solutions to help them not continue to have the problems of their lives. And again, we see people on their worst days, and it's really a tough situation in many regards. But I just want to say, thank you all for being a partner. To all my other law enforcement chiefs and folks that are in the area from other jurisdictions, thank you. My good friend Russ, my good friend Daryl, that we go back many moons. Russ and I is charging the streets of Montgomery County, working in narcotics. My good friend Terry Ridgely, who was my partner in crime back in the day. I thank you, and Laura Lanham, who has been the rock and just always in my ear, and she tells me the truth, even though I don't like to hear from her sometimes. But just some great in that. And again, there's a lot of folks. I mean, when I talk about community, I go back in many moons ago, and I'll hit on some folks later because I'm not going to be able to hit everybody in the beginning. But I will tell you, there's a lot of things that drive me every single day. And it's the folks in this community, the people that I work with, the people that I know, and they're not always in the law enforcement world. One of the things my family, we have been embedded in, and you talk about support, even during these times that I've been over the past few years, I have a family that is just very supportive, but I've got a church family that have been phenomenal. And I want to thank the Mount Calvary Baptist Church from Lincoln Park for all they've done for us. My entire family has grown through that church, and it's this. They are. You talk about giving people. That's what they do, and they pray and they work and they get it done. And I want to say thank you all for all of that you've done for the Jones family in that regard. And again, we talk about lots of partners, and again, there's so many folks. I go back in the days of my good friend Vernon Ricks. I know who's in the building, and we go back with John Smith and Fred Evans, where we did a lot of work in the mentoring world. And again, just phenomenal, and just so many people to thank. So I really want, and again, when we talk about family, there's nothing more important to me than family. Even as decisions had to be made about where I was going to go over a course of time, I can just tell you my family has been there with me every single step of the way. And right here along the front row areas is the Jones family and Chandler family, who've traveled from Virginia, from New York, and all over. So I want to say thank you all, because you guys have been a tremendous support for what we have done. So then I'll get into it. We'll get more into them a little bit later. So right now, I just really briefly, I just want to share some remarks about what I think is important, a discussion to have today. And again, to lead a department that I think that requires a great deal more than just showing up to work every day and doing what we do. But I want to talk about love, and I want to talk about perseverance. And I want you all to, and I just want to indulge you just for a few minutes to tell you a little story about Marcus and how this journey has come to be where it is today. And so, as a young boy who was born in Baltimore, and my mom took my brother Tino and I traveled a little bit up and down the East Coast. We were then taken to, my mom was sick, and we were then taken to my grandmother and my grandfather down in South Boston, Virginia. Many of you don't even know where that is, but those who do, thank you, homies. And so, yeah, we know we got a few in the house. So we go back to where the roots of the family really existed, and we were raised there. And I will tell you, when you talk about someone who taught love, was my late grandmother and grandfather, who just unconditionally showed us what it was like to give to people who had more than them, and they gave to people who had much less than them, and people who were sick, and who gave their undying love and time and energy, no matter what it was, that's what they gave. And that was a lesson that we all took near and dear to my heart about how I would live life. And so as time went on, I would just continue to grow and learn how to love family even greater. And so I had this big brother. And those of you who may know him, his name is Tino, who is a retired Montgomery County police officer. And Tino, we grew together, and he was older than me, and always kind of guided me around and helped to lead me. Sometimes he would lead me down the right road. And then there was days he was like a con artist. He would lead me down this other road. And the bad news about that was that I knew when he was about to con me, and I would still fall for the con. So I'll tell a brief story. My dad, who was a Baltimore City deputy sheriff, had bought Tino a mini bike. But then and I was a little bit younger, so he bought me a pony. And I had a pinto pony. His name was Buttermilk. Her name was Buttermilk. And so, but I was young, I wouldn't ride the pony. And Tino knew I wouldn't ride the pony, so one day he kept pushing me, come on, man, you gotta ride the pony. And I knew I didn't want to ride the pony because I knew that there was something behind him trying to get me on the pony. And so lo and behold, he kept pestering me as he always would do, and I finally got on the pony. And if many of you know back in the South, there were these metal chairs that were in the yard. And Tino took this big branch while I was circling around with the pony on the saddle, thinking everything was good, and he hit that chair as loud as he could hit it. And the pony took off with me. And we went screaming through the woods until the pony stopped. And then I got off the pony and left the pony where it was. And I walked back to the house. There was Tino standing in the middle of the yard laughing, and I walked right past him and didn't say a word. But that was my brother, and that's what I knew, that he loved me in his own way. So time would go on, and Tino would go off he would actually come here to Maryland to work. I was at Virginia Commonwealth University, and that's where I met this young lady. Literally, you talk about fate. It's literally the first day, almost one of the first days we were on campus. And we're hanging out, and the guys are checking out the girls, and the girls are checking out the guys. And I see this young lady across the way, and I was even scared to even go over and say anything to her. And there was this guy, I don't know, in fact, I don't even know if the guy even went to VCU, but he came over and he introduced us to. And from that point on, I met the kindest, most loving woman I had ever met in my life. Only to know that I had fallen in love really fast. And so I convinced this young woman from Chicago, of all places to be in Richmond, I convinced this woman from Chicago that I needed her to spend the rest of our lives together. And I did that. And in the midst of us really kind of starting this conversation, Tino had called me, and see, you get it. I'm a little cautious, right? But Tino calls me and he says, hey man, I'm up here working in Montgomery County. He says, I think you really would like working here. and you should think about it. And of course, I had pause, right? But in reality, I really thought maybe this is the right thing to do. And so I came up, I did some ride-alongs, and now in the midst of me, again, convincing Angela to marry me, which was probably the easier thing to do, to tell her that we were going to Montgomery County and I was going to become a police officer. She thought I had lost my mind. So, and that's how this journey began. And that's how this journey, you talk about love, right? About just reaching out. And so then from there, we then, began our lives here and just met great people along the way, people who took me in. My corporal, who was my training corporal when I first started, Frank Hall, who's here, O.J. Lennon, my SAT sergeant that I grew, and I developed relationships along the way with some phenomenal people. And Angela and I then ran into a wall, you might say. In 1988, Angela and I were expecting twins. And we were really excited. And we had made it till about the 8th month. And unfortunately, Gerard and Ajovi didn't make it. And we lost them. And so I remember just being devastated, and Angela, looking at her every day, trying to struggle through this because of our excitement. I remember talking to the OBGYN, and he told us, no, you guys have to keep trying. And that very next year, this young, beautiful son named Vance was born. And so and that just helped us to develop and to really understand what faith was all about, right? And then 2 years later, another beautiful young lady was born named Jasmine, right? And we were like, oh my gosh. And so we were trudging through life. I was, really working hard, working in many different assignments, working in narcotics. And I remember Angela and I talk about, well, we're gonna have a third one, right? But not right now. We're gonna wait a little while. Well, God wouldn't have it that way. And he would send us this different one named Brianna. And so there God had given us he had given us 3 gifts, right? And so it just would show us again what life and what perseverance was all about. And so that again led to what we understood what was really about faith, right? Where we had to really have trust. And so over time, as we have gone on throughout this career, and I've gone on and I've just again dealt with phenomenal people doing phenomenal things throughout this department, I really just see my friends in the audience that have done work such as in the community that has been special. And it's been special, and so many of you and the ones that I've met along the way, I just can't begin to tell you how special it is. And it's special for us today. You might not have caught it about why we are excited about being at Gaithersburg High School. It's because this is like family here, because all 3 of our kids graduated from Gaithersburg High School. And Dr. Handy over there, I see you, right? I see you representing. She was very instrumental along the way, and again, a lot of other folks along. And I just got so many friends that I think when we look at the support about, people say to me sort of like, why? Why would you do what you do? Why did you stay as long as you stayed? I have to be honest with you all. I didn't see the finish line. I didn't know where the finish line was, right? When at the end of the day, I really didn't know. I just believed in my heart that I had something to give to this community. There was something special. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know that whatever it was, wherever my work was to be done, it was to be done somewhere, because this is a community that, as I told Mr. Elrich and Mr. Klein, that I love to the dearest of my heart. It has so much to give, and it's so much work to be done. And when you look across the way, when we look back at family, about how we do this work, why it's important to people, how to have impact across this nation, it really does mean something. And I would be remiss if there's a few other folks that I didn't really highlight today. And again, I see my National Black Police Association buddies back there, Ron Hampton and Pete France, and there's my guys from Baltimore County, Warren and Lawrence. And Zach, I see you, brother. It's nice to be retired, right? I got you. I didn't take your advice, Zach. I just want to tell you that. I see my good friend Barry Moultrie, Reverend Moultrie, who's just a great supporter along the way. Miss Clark, Miss Tina, I see you sitting down there. I see you. Miss Tina's a great supporter. My golf buddies, I see them. They're probably laughing at me now because they know my golf game is really going to struggle, knowing that I can't get out there and play as much. So I totally understand that. But again, my younger brother is also here, who came down from Delaware, Greg. I appreciate him. And there's another guy that's he's actually taller than Tino. Some of you all may have met him, but he was he's like the surrogate brother, right, that we had. We all grew up together. Reverend Kevin Chandler, phenomenal leader in his own right. And special to me is my mom's sister. That's here, and my Aunt Elaine and Uncle Fred from New York. And I just thank you all so much for being here and supporting us. So I just want to say, because it's amazing. Angie and I was standing in a line, and folks were coming up, and we felt we were in a wedding line. But we know we didn't really get to see everybody. So I wanted that opportunity for us to really see those who we haven't seen yet, and again, see all of those of you before you leave. I want to say again, this is the greatest honor. I told somebody in the media the other day when I was doing an interview, this is a dream on top of a dream, to be honest with you. The folks that I work with here in Montgomery County, my assistant chief, my good friend Dave Anderson, my three acting amigos, the assistant chiefs, Danish, Paul LaCory, and Ron Smith, have been phenomenal with me over the past few months. And I want to say thank them. I want to thank them. And so, though the last 6 months have been trying in so many regards, I will tell you that I think that, there are tests that are put before you for a reason. And so, and then you have to look to have the faith that you really pass that test, and that you can persevere. And that if you do it in love, and you do it with the hard work and determination, that nothing can slow you down. And so that's what I built on. And that's the message that I share with my staff and I share with my officers, for them not to be dismayed at what's in front of them. They do phenomenal work. They should be proud of what they do every single day. We will make mistakes. We are from the human race. That is to be expected. But the question is, do you get up, dust yourself off, and stand taller than you were before? Or do we hang our heads? And I will tell you, as long as I lead this police department, we will not hang our heads. We will not. So I want to say thank you all. Thank you all. Thank my good friend Morris Hudson, who I've been knowing that rascal for a long time. And you talk about a guy who's committed. He shows the way. And that I see what he does every day. He shows the way. There are a lot of you in this room who have shown me the way, and I'm here to say thank you. God bless you, and stay in touch. Let's partner. Let's make this place the greatest place in the world to live. Thank you all so very much. Thank you.